Well, good morning everyone, and welcome to another Canuck Spyder video. It's kind of looking pretty dreary right now, but it's supposed to clear up as the day goes along. I'm going to do a bit of a kind of review of the 21 riding season, because we are getting towards the end of it. It's October the 7th today, and we're coming up to the Thanksgiving long weekend in Canada, and so we've only probably got a few weeks left of riding, but we've had an excellent fall, and September was beautiful, and October is not looking any different. Today is supposed to get up to a nice high of 20 degrees, which is pretty good for this time of year up where I live. So we're just going to go for a meandering ride. I'm not really even sure where I'm going to go, but probably going to be heading up towards the Bancroft area and see what's going on. And I'll kind of review what it's been like riding in 2021 up here in Ontario, Canada. So looks like I headed in the right direction today, kind of northeast of where I live, because I'm only about really 20 kilometers north of where I started, and it was looking pretty dreary when I first set out, as I mentioned in the intro. But that's nice looking blue sky with some puffy clouds up ahead, so things are looking up for today's ride. So I just stopped at Kenmount Park, which is this is the Burnt River out here, and I was in Fenland earlier this week, and I noticed that the falls at Fenland Falls were really flowing hard, so it looks like they're starting to work on re-regulating the water flow. So, and it looks like it's no difference up here. I don't really ever usually see it flowing that hard up here. I don't know how well that's coming up from this distance, but this is about as close as I can get to it from this angle anyway. I'll probably walk around the other side of that building and see if I can get a view from it from that side. I don't know how well this is going to come out, but this is a little video thing they've got running here. This building that you just saw in the last clip is an old sawmill, and it has been closed up for quite some time. You can see the actual falls that I just showed you there in the video, and they're just showing some things about this area. I've never actually been inside this place. It's always seemed to be closed up, but inside, I'm sure you can't see very well in the video, but inside there's all sorts of old equipment that used to be used in the old logging times. I'm not quite how sure that's going to come out with my big head in the way, but we'll see. So a whole gang of ATVers just showed up. Yeah, that water's really flowing right now. The old building looks like it needs a bit of repair work. It's the time of year when they're re-regulating all the waterways that feed down into the Trent Severn, and all of these rivers eventually find their way down into that system. And all these dams help to regulate all the lake levels getting ready for the wintertime. You don't want the lakes to be too high, or after they freeze and the ice starts to get pushed up on people's properties. I've actually seen this in years gone by. I used to live up in Aurelia, and sometimes if they got this wrong, ice would come right up on people's properties and take out boat houses and sometimes parts of their cottages and or their homes for that matter. Okay, we're at Furnace Falls. Whoops, sorry about the trees there. See if we can get down here without wiping out. Okay. Well, I don't think I can add anything to that view, but I think we need to fly the drone. So I said I would talk a bit about the 2021 riding season. So it's been a good year. We got started really early this year. I think Leslie and I had our first 2-up ride before the end of March. I think it was like March 27th or something like that. Anyway, before the end of March. And I look back at a video that I shot on the same date, late March in 2020. I almost said 1920, but 2020. And that was the day that we got our lug and roll trailer delivered, and there was still lots of snow all around the property. The driveway was still packed up with ice. The guy that delivered the trailer actually had a bit of trouble getting it up to the garage. So that just shows you the contrast from one year to the next. By the end of March this year, all the snow was gone, the roads were clear and dry, and so we did a bit of riding, just local riding, because for all intents and purposes in March and April, the province of Ontario, Canada, where I live, was still pretty much on lockdown due to the third phase of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we decided that we weren't going to do any trips until we were both double vaccinated. We got our first vaccine in April, and initially we weren't supposed to get our second shot until August, but Canada seemed to do very well at securing a good supply of vaccine, probably because the US wasn't using theirs as fast as they suspected, so I imagine that's why we got more faster. So we were able to get our second shot on my birthday, actually, on June 29th, and so we were double vaccinated by the end of June. In the early part of the summer, however, we did get a lot of riding in, but just local riding, nothing overnight or anything like that. We were just out riding around the area. Then after we got our second shots, middle of July, we waited that 2-week period to make sure that that vaccine had sort of taken in. Middle of July, we headed out on our big trip, probably the biggest trip we've done on the Spyder so far. And we headed up towards Sault Ste. Marie, which is about 700 kilometers from where we live. We did that in 2 legs, one to Sturgeon Falls and then on to Sault Ste. Marie. Then from there we went up to Wawa and really got to appreciate that shore of Lake Superior on the way between Sault Ste. Marie and Wawa. And then we cut across from Wawa to a little place called Chapleau for an overnight, and then we came down Highway 129, Ontario's Tail of the Dragon, and into Elliott Lake. Then from Elliott Lake we went to North Bay and an overnight in North Bay, and then back home again. The whole trip was 7 days, 8 days and 7 nights. So that was a nice trip. Just over 2,000 kilometers. So we took a little bit of a break, and the second trip we headed out for was in August, and that took us kind of in the other direction. We went over to the Petawawa area up in the Ottawa Valley, and then we went up to Gatineau, Quebec, and then we headed north up alongside of the Gatineau River and made our way up through the La Vérendrye Wildlife Reserve in the province of Quebec. That took us to Val d'Or, and then we just headed back over into Ontario at Kirkland Lake. Had an overnight in Kirkland Lake, and then headed back down for our last overnight, which was in North Bay, and then heading home the next day. That was also a very nice trip. That La Vérendrye Wildlife Reserve was a pretty spectacular countryside. Again, very remote, very barren, not a lot of population. It was just a good dose of wilderness. It was very nice up there. We're just coming into a little spot called Tory Hill, and I think I'm going to stop and have some lunch. Someone packed me a nice lunch today, so I'm going to stop at this little area, little kind of a rest stop area, and enjoy my lunch. Okay, we're back on the road. So we're on Highway 118 now, and we're gonna stay on here until we hit the end of what's called Loop Road. And then we're going to head up to the South Baptiste Lake Road, and we're going to zip along the shores of Baptiste Lake. Well, folks, it doesn't get much better than this. October the 7th, 22 degrees Celsius, blue skies. Every ride from here on in is a bonus ride. So we just stopped for a little break in Bancroft. Wasn't really planning on Bancroft today, but the afternoon is sort of winding away, and so I'm on Highway 62 heading south, and I'm going to probably cut across by Chandos Lake through Apsley and then down home through Buckhorn and Bobcaygeon. So get a few more little views along the way and continue with our vlog ride. This is Chandos Lake, which is kind of just east of east of Apsley, kind of south of Bancroft. So this will be probably our last stop of the ride before heading home. I just checked Google Maps and we're like an hour and 15 minutes away from home, but just over 100 kilometers. So the little setup with the suction cup worked pretty good for getting some different angles. I'm looking forward to seeing what that comes out like on when I look at it on the computer. Well folks, I think that's going to wrap up another Connect Spyder video. A nice fall ride in early October. We've been really lucky this year with some good weather, so I really hope you enjoyed the ride, and I certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. And just a reminder, if you like the content in the channel, please think about subscribing and clicking that notification bell so you find out when we release a new video. So for now, thanks for watching another video, and I'll see you in the next one.